important for us to come together on this day to talk about the deadline and what is currently continuing to happen in our country. I have a few talking points that I want to put forward, and I'm going to stay on point and then pass the torch to the next speaker. Trump's anti-immigrant policies are part and parcel of a racist systemic stripping away of all the civil rights gains people of color, immigrants, the poor, women, the LGBTQIA community, and workers in general have made over the last 40 to 50 years in this country. These are gains that were won with blood. Many have their lives to win these gains. Many gave their lives to win these gains, and we are not going to lie down and meekly allow them to be taken away. We must understand that all of these rights are linked. Immigrants' rights are civil rights as well as human rights. The NAACP years ago understood this. That is why it filed a successful lawsuit against the government to support DACA. The plight of African Americans is directly linked to the outcomes of this struggle to end the so-called zero tolerance policies by this government. With the upsurge of police killings of African Americans, the increase in unemployment rates, the school-to-prison pipeline resulting in mass over-incarceration of African Americans and other people of color, African Americans have to understand that any attack on our immigrant sisters and brothers is a direct attack on us.
That's right.
What we don't hear much about is how the government's anti-immigrant policy is exacted against others from other parts of the world, especially Africa. Americans who are also escaping war-torn, Africans who are also escaping war-torn countries and oppressive regimes, as well as blacks from the Caribbean, Central America, and South American countries, are almost invisible victims of this government's racist anti-immigrant policy. While the government has us focusing on the southern border, accepting of immigrants from Sweden and Norway stated, the more of them, the merrier. Families are the foundation of civilization. And a government that forcibly separates children from parents is a criminal government and an affront to civilization itself. In 1850 in this country, there was a law called the Fugitive Slave Catchers Law. Under this law, anyone who refused to turn in a person who was alleged to be a runaway slave would be penalized by fine or turn in a person who was alleged to be a runaway slave would be penalized by fine or imprisonment. Law enforcement officials were mandated to arrest people they suspected of being a runaway slave. The suspected runaway could not ask for a jury trial or testify on his own behalf. Also, the penalty, his family, if he had such, could be sold, or he could be sold and never see his family again. This law also allowed free blacks to be kidnapped and taken into slavery, which is what happened to Solomon Northup, the subject of the movie 12 Years a Slave. Now the U.S. government, in the 21st century version of the slave catcher and Trump's policies, are the Fugitive Slave Act of 2018. All who fight for justice in the issue of immigrant rights are joined by history and blood. The NAACP weeks ago called for the immediate reunification of the families incarcerated and separated by this administration. In a resolution passed unanimously at our recent national convention, it concluded in these words, therefore be it finally resolved that the NAACP commends ruling of the U.S. District Judge Dana Sabro and has steadfast stance to that the and the Department of Homeland Security for each and every day of delay adhering to the court ruling. And finally, be it finally resolved that the NAACP is clear that it remains ardently opposed to the separation of families. And finally, just like the convention's theme, defeat hate, vote, and keep on fighting. And so now, without further ado, I'd like to turn the speaker over to another person. Anyone in the audience that would like to come in and speak out on this issue is welcome to join us. I don't see our president of LULAC, but I do see others. If anyone is interested in coming and talking about this very important issue, please do so.
All right, Mickey, how do you do it?
You can use this microphone if you want instead.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That might not be a bad idea.
Thank you, Regina. Helen Davis and I are here representing the American Civil Liberties Union Monterey County chapter. And I have to say, I've been involved in the ACLU for over 40 years, but one of the proudest things I am concerning the ACLU is this lawsuit that they filed to get an order to reunite these children and their families. As we've seen, though, getting the order was just the first step. The order must be complied with by this administration. Has not done so. This case is now in a position to challenge our constitutional system. Will the executive branch obey the judicial branch? Will the executive branch comply with a valid constitutional order of the court? That is one of the most important questions facing us with this issue today. The Trump administration must comply with this order. The judge's order was very strong. It said, you must reunite these children. You must reunite them by a certain date, and they did not do so. We shall see what happens now, but one of the things I can assure you is that the ACLU will not give up. That order will be complied with, and efforts are being made by ACLU and other organizations right now to identify these parents, to identify these children, and to get them together with or without the compliance of the current administration. What we need to do, we need to insist, we need to demand that our legislators, when we elect more in the midterm, we need to demand that our legislators enact comprehensive immigration reform that is just, that is fair, and that works for our country. In the case where recently the court dismissed the lawsuit that the Trump administration had brought against California to make California no longer what we call a sanctuary state, and to undo the protections that we have here in California for some of the most vulnerable immigrants. In that case, I'm just going to end with the words of the judge, very strong words. We need our elected officials to enact comprehensive, fair immigration laws. He said, our nation deserves it, and our Constitution demands it. Let's do it.
Thank you very much, Mickey. Is there anyone else represented out there that would like to come and speak out on this issue? Young lady? Elizabeth, and you're with LULAC? And the foundation, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth. I'm here with my, friends from LULAC, the USW Foundation, and the AACP. I thank each and every one of you for coming out here today, Sunday. But we can't stop these rallies challenging our current administration, who's not following the guidelines. We need to make sure that our families stay united. Children each and every day are being separated. And we need to make sure that we continue to fight for justice. It's important for others to know that families are not coming to this country just to work. They're fleeing from their countries because they can no longer live safely there. And most importantly, we need to make sure that these families are reunited, because each and every day that goes by, children, little infants are without their parents. I see parents around here. Just imagine yourselves without your children. We need to make sure that we stand up for what's right. And sometimes it's very easy to see the difference between what's right and what's wrong. And what's happening today and every day, it's wrong. It's simply wrong. Children are being separated from their parents, and it continues to happen every day. Everything that's going on with DACA as well. We cannot forget our dreamers. We cannot forget those who have lived in this country, who continue to work in this country, who are part of our communities. We cannot forget about them. We cannot forget about any of our community members, because we're a community. And this is where it starts, getting together in our own communities. This is where we need to get out and vote. And I urge those who are young, who have not registered to vote, register, because our vote does matter. We need to elect those in office. We need to make sure that those families that are being elected are not families who wish to separate families. Are families who understand this country, because we're all a country of immigrants. We need to elect officials that understand our issues, that live in our own communities. And we cannot do so. We cannot change this system without voting. We cannot change it without registering our family members, without registering our community members. And we need to do it so locally, and it starts here, locally and at the state level, and eventually nationally. But if we don't put that work in, if we don't register people to vote, and if people don't vote, guess what? Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. We need to make sure that we have people who are representing our values. And I urge you to get out and vote for not only family separations, but every issue around our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. She is so right about getting out to vote. If we do not exercise our right to vote, then we should not complain. There are many young people that I have run into lately, and every time I ask one of them, "Are you registered to vote?" they tell me no. It breaks my heart. They feel like their vote does not matter. But I have to tell you that all politics is local. And so if you feel like your vote doesn't matter, and the people that you voted into office, you can vote them out of office. Run yourselves if you have people in your community that you know would do a better job. And I would like to just say that the Poor People's Campaign, one of the goals of one of the subcommittees is the Voter Registration Education Committee. So if any one of you out there wants to join us in taking to the streets and registering people and getting involved in the census count as well, we welcome you. Please get in touch with us or leave us your name and we will reach out to you. And I think that Mr. Oglesby wanted to say a few words.
Thank you, Regina. As Regina said, my name is Ian Oglesby, and I am the Political Action Chair for the local branch of the NAACP. I want to thank our President, Regina Mason, and the LULAC President, Francisco, for putting this thing together and allowing people to come together. It's a wonderful event for people to come together. But I come out front on a personal note, because when I leave here, I'm able to go home and be with my family and my grandkids and my kids. And so I stand up for the families that are not together tonight, that have been separated. I stand with them to be reunified together in a efficient manner, in a compassionate manner. It's not about where you come from, what race you are. It's about being a human being. And I think it was said earlier about this country was built on immigrants. We're all immigrants, and so we should be compassionate to those that are trying to come to our shores. We should not separate families. We should put families back together. And I just wanted to be one that stood up today. Like some of us, we were at the Windows on the Bay yesterday, and I'm just so thankful to the President, Regina Mason, and LULAC for putting this opportunity together for people in Seaside to come together and stand together with unification for the families that have been separated. So thank you so much.
Stephen Goings is going to come.
Thank you, Regina. I'm so glad that the NAACP and LULAC are working together on this. It's an important relationship, and I reflect on it sometimes. You know, part of what this country has always wanted and has always managed one way or another to get is basically to have free labor. That's what slavery was. It was free labor. Get people to work for free. They don't have any type of citizenship whatsoever. And this is the same thing that we do to other communities, and the same thing that's going on in terms of whether or not we're going to have immigration reform. Lots of people don't want immigration reform because we want illegal aliens so that they can work for free or for dirt cheap and have no representation in our government and cannot pass any laws or have any voice, and yet they're here working. And I'm mindful that we are not just immigrants. We took this country by force. This is the original, where we are right now, this city hall is built on the land of the Ohlone, the Costanoan, the Esselen, right here. And then after that, we won Mexico in an illegal war of aggression. And we don't remember that enough. And it's very convenient that we don't remember that. That's what gives people the idea that this is ours and you are taking something from us. Well, you're taking something we already stole from somebody else. I think this is something that we must remind ourselves of daily, that this is what's going on. And I reflect about slavery, and I think to myself, I think about the pictures that I can see in my mind's eye of an African family, because they certainly weren't Americans, of an African family. This is a time in our history where brothers and sisters and mothers and daughters and fathers and sons were separated, where one part of the family is sold off to another part of the family somewhere else. We should recognize that that's what is going on right now. I don't think that we have our imagination into this well enough. Something that I'm upset that I'm not seeing. You know, it was very powerful, the images that we saw in the 60s of the water hoses knocking people down. We need to have cameras, and we need to see and not just hear about these families being. We should be listening to the sounds of their crying and see these images so that we can really get behind and really understand what's going on, so that we can move more than just the activists who are here at every other thing. So again, I also want to encourage people to get involved with the Poor People's Campaign that the NAACP is leading off, and I see a lot of organizations that are here that are doing that. So my heart goes out to these people. This is one of the worst things that I've seen in my lifetime with this particular government. I mean, we've done so many illegal and immoral things, but this is one that we all know. There's no one who does not know that you don't. And you know, the thing about it is, this separation it was so deliberate. No one actually even, this is how incompetent and how evil our government, or this particular branch of our government is at this particular time, that when they separated these children from their parents, they had no plan in mind, no thought at all about how they were to find each other ever again. And we need to know that that's the case. It's not just a temporary separation where you can get them back together. Half the reason why they're not complying with this order is because they can't. They can't even figure it out. They had no plan in place in the first place. I don't know, it just makes me angry. Whoever the next speaker is. Thanks.
Amen.
My name is Alana Miles, and speaking personally, I feel a direct connection to what's happening because I do care about all children. And I think about my family's ancestry who were African American slaves, and I think, is this what happened to them, being separated from parents separated from their children, and again, as Stephen has said, aunts and uncles, and not seeing each other ever again. I also am incensed when I hear Jeff Sessions using the Bible to justify the actions of the government. And also I'm incensed when I see people with zip ties around their hands and chains around their ankles. And again, I think of the images that I saw in the history books. And I think about the story that my father would tell me about him talking to his grandfather, who was a slave. So that's how close it is to my family history. So again, I am happy to be here at this rally to witness how I feel and hope that what I say will also help make a difference. And speaking about voting, just this week I got together with Helen Rucker, and we are going to be making plans to go to the high school to register high school students and also to help them understand how important it is for them to vote. Thank you.
For those wonderful words. Is there anyone else out in the audience? JT, are you ready to take the mic? We want to hear from JT.
You're desperate.
Mommy,
You know, it's like all of you. I think once I start talking about the horror and sadness I feel about this, I may not stop. I may not stop crying. I may not stop raging. It is tremendously heartbreaking to see what we are turning into, or at least what we were, and it's bubbling up, and we need to stop that and reclaim the heart and soul of what I would like to think our communities are. We have been taught a lot of lies about each other, and it's taken some of us a very long time to wake up to that and to get active. I love seeing you all here. There are a lot of places you could be, but you're here because you care and you want to stand for what is right. I encourage us all to go out there and talk to a lot more people to get them here, because this government is pulling all sorts of horrific things in our name while we watch the children in Thailand, who it was a terrible situation, but while that was going on, we were purposely separating families and not talking about it because we're all looking over here. We always have to look over here instead of looking here and seeing what we do, how we act, and who we are. There are a lot of wonderful groups here. I'm very thrilled about the Poor People's Campaign because a lot of us are coming together to fight this on a systemic level as well as voting and all that. So thank you all very much for coming out. I'm not very articulate when it comes to this because it just breaks my heart. So it's lovely to see you, and we'll see you and hopefully many, many more of our friends at the next rally.
Thank you very much for those kind words. So is there anyone else? Mr. Melendez, do you have something to say about this issue? I know you do. Give us some wisdom.
We are a country of broken hearts.
Yes, we are.
Here we stand talking about things that are deplorable, talking about things that we thought we would never see, talking about things that are revolting, and we're not we're at a point where we can't just talk about it. We're going to have to act in unison with each other, because this government, this Trump government, is going to create havoc in our country. Let's be true to what has been said earlier. We are a country of immigrants. And if we lose sight of that by closing the door constantly, we're not going to make any headway. I hope that my great-grandchildren will inherit a country worthy of what we set out to be. But the way things are going, I suspect that we have to be coming together more often. We have to be talking to our neighbors. We have to be talking to each other, whether you belong to an organization like NAACP or LULAC, or a church like the Unitarian Universalists. It doesn't matter. We have to talk to each other. We've got to lay the groundwork to do what really requires us to do, which is to oppose policies and practices that tear families apart, that lose children in their supposed refuges. And I think that as I look at some of the things that you hold up, what broke my heart is to see the poster, and I don't know where it is.
It's over here.
I belong on your lap. I don't want to. Where is that poster? These are the thoughts of some of the there's the one. I belong on your lap, not in a cage. Look at that child. I see my great-granddaughter in that child. And I think that if that doesn't turn us into activists, nothing will. And to be an activist means that you're going to have to really search for the solutions that you want and implement these solutions. If you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for us. So we have to get together. We have to continue to raise the awareness of our friends and the community that we live in to assure safety for all children, safety for our immigrant families, safety for the people who stand up and talk about the atrocities that we are implementing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, so I'm kind of in charge of the LULAC youth group, and I just wanted to mention that almost all of the posters that are in this manila paper were actually created and made by the kids. So this is their work, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Guda. Okay, so we would like to hear from some other people. Is there anyone else out in the audience that would like to come up and speak? Okay, Monica from the Youth Council.
Hello, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. My name is Monica Mapp, and I'm with the NAACP Youth Council. And I just want to say that our Youth Council is going to start working with LULAC Youth Council, and we're going to start getting out and registering young people. It just breaks my heart to know that these kids are being taken away from their parents. I couldn't imagine not having my children by my side. So whatever you need, we would love to help, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Okay, Mr. Mason, can you come and impart a few words of wisdom to us?
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Mel Mason, and among other things, I'm past president of the Monterey County Branch of the NAACP. I had the privilege of doing that 3 times. Bill Melendez and Carlos and others, and I go back a long way. I'm thinking about the times when we took on the Border Patrol and times that we took on what was then all throughout Monterey County, blocking the driveway so that that clown that ran the unit over in Salinas couldn't get his car in there. He was the same guy that had shot at some people that were supposed to have been quote-unquote illegal aliens down in Big Sur. We won that battle. There's no such thing as a Border Patrol over there anymore. But these attacks on immigrants continue. And I think that everyone here talked about the need for continuity of struggle. And that's what it's going to take. You know, in the late 60s and early 70s, those who know me know that I was a member of the Black Panther Party. And I still believe that people have the power. There are more of us than there are of them. And by them, I mean the enemies of all of us. We have to come together. And I think that this is the beginning of us being able to do that. But also, we need to understand that across the country, people are doing the same things that we're doing here. And so if you link it all together, then we have a mass movement of people who are fighting against these horrible policies that the Trump administration is exacting against people. We also have to really be understanding of the fact that the way that things have worked in this society in terms of oppression of people is that the rulers of this country decide to go after people that they think are the least popular. Of course, immigrants are popular with us because they're our brothers and sisters. And we see an attack on them as to be an attack on us. But if we ever get complacent to the point where we think, well, you know, maybe they should have found a way to come over here legally and blah, 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 and then we don't really put any kind of attention on that. The next thing you do, that the next knock at the door will be at our house. And that's the way it's always worked. And so when you attack what they consider to be the least popular of us, then all of a sudden they end up in our place. And because the abolishment of rights of people is in the interest of the ruling class in this country. And they will start there, they will end with everybody else. And I think that Regina was right when she pointed out that attacks on immigrants is an attack on all of us. It's an attack on us if we're in the LGBT community, if we're African American, if we're Latino, if we are workers. It's an attack on unions. It's an attack on everything that we're about. And so we have to understand that this is not just an isolated struggle. You know, that the attack on immigrants has to be met with full force by all of us in this country, so that they will understand that not only are we not going to stand for you attacking our immigrant brothers and sisters, that means that also we're not going to stand for you attacking any of us at any time whatsoever. That's right. That's the message that we need to send. I'm also a therapist, and one of the things that I'm really concerned about as we continue to push for and hopefully eventually quickly get families reunified, that these children have been traumatized. Yes. They have been traumatized beyond what you can even imagine. I mean, just think about it. Yes, they belong on somebody's lap, but where are they? They don't even know where their parents are. I mean, it's one thing to be separated from your parents and you can look out the window and maybe see them over there. That's traumatic anyway. But can you imagine the trauma that's happening with these children? Not knowing where their parents are, not knowing if they're ever going to see their parents again. And some of them that may be the case. So what happens with them? What happens with them even when they get reunified with their families? They are still traumatized. I run an agency called the Village Project. Some of you know about it. When Trump was running for office, we were looking at some of our Latino youngsters, little kids, in our programs. Suddenly their behaviors had changed. And they didn't want to go to school. They were afraid to do one thing after the next. Things that they used to enjoy, they didn't do anymore. Because they were concerned that when they went to bed at night, they might wake up in the morning and their parents would be taken by ICE. We didn't realize it until some of the kids started to talk to us about it. And then we had to work with them. We had to work also with their families. And for some of the families, it was like, well, maybe we should run in hives. No, you don't have to run and hide. And also for them to understand that ICE was not welcome in the Village Project, that the police are not welcome in the Village Project. And what I had to tell the parents as we got together in the group was that if ICE ever comes in here, the first person that they're gonna have to hook up and put in handcuffs is me. And that probably is something that they're not gonna wanna do. But I'm just letting you know that you are safe here. And we're going to do everything in the world to make sure that you're safe at home. And we're going to make sure that everything happens to make sure that your kids are okay. So as I was sitting here thinking about this, and I'm going to close in a second because I don't want to go on too long. But that these children are going to need other things too. And I think that we need to demand that this government, since they caused the trauma in these children, that this government provides them with therapy, that they provide them with culturally competent and culturally congruent services. That means that they may have to get therapists from Mexico to come and talk with the children and the families from Mexico and pay for them. Now, if Trump and them want to pay for something, not a wall, but to pay for these children to be made whole and healthy again. So that's just another piece to this whole thing. But for right now, we have to make sure that we are committed to do this long term, because this is not going to happen just because we had to rally today, we got fired up, may have a rally tomorrow, that it's all going to end. It's going to take a sustained effort, and we have to understand that there is a long-term goal, a long-range goal for us. And for me, it's always been about countries without borders, and that people have rights because they are human beings, not because they are confined in some kind of artificial boundary or something called a border. So, but anyway, just want to throw that out there, but also just showing that real concern for these youngsters who have been traumatized by this horrible racist person that we have in the White House and these horrible racist policies. Thank you.
Okay, so I received some cards and I'd like to give them. I'm going to take one and pass them around. These are to give to families who may have ICE knock at their door or to report any ICE activity in their neighborhoods. There's a number that they can call, and it's in English and in Spanish. And so I think a lot of families are staying indoors because they're afraid to come out because they don't know what to expect. And so I'm going to pass these around to people. Thank you very much, Wes, for giving them to me. Is there anyone else out in the audience that we can hear from?
Hi everybody, my name's Kimber Senis and I'm with Monterey Peninsula Pride, and we're a relatively new organization, but part of our vision statement, something that we worked on together as a group, was something that is in our vision statement is pursuing multicultural equity, because we recognize that the queer community is not one note. We don't have one thing that we're working on. It's recognizing that there are queer immigrants, there are trans immigrants, and recognizing that their needs are going to be different and that we need to stick together. And so Monterey Peninsula Pride is very committed to working with other groups in the community. We're very happy to be here today and show our support. And we recognize that the liberation of the queer community is dependent on the liberation of other oppressed communities, that they're all tied together. And so we want to continue working together, and we appreciate being with you all today.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. Is there anyone else out in the audience that would like to say a few words? Catherine.
Regina. Thank you for all the organizers today, LULAC and NAACP. My name is Catherine Crockett, and I'm with the Monterey Peace and Justice Center. And something worth saying is that the people at the border, they're getting it coming and going. Our trade agreements in South America, Middle America, have disrupted, have made life unlivable. The wealthy people, the plutocracy that runs this country, have gone in, taken the resources, the water, the land away from people, disrupted their way of life, made it impossible to have a normal family life, and they come to our borders seeking some refuge And again, they get slapped down. And these myths of what immigrants do, they come here and they expect handouts and they make our neighborhoods and our cities unsafe. Those are all lies and myths, and we all know that. We know that they enrich our country, that our pluralism is healthy and makes our country thrive, and they're being demonized, and that's terrorism. It's beyond racism, it's terrorism. And we need to embrace them, and we need to make sure that the GOP administration knows that they cannot do this, that we strongly oppose it, and we will work to bring it down. Thank you.
Okay, and I see that our LULAC president has come, and we will have him come and speak now.
Welcome everybody. Thank you guys for coming. It's a great turnout. Sorry for the late arrival. I was attending some other issues in the community, but it's a great turnout to see. It's a great event, and I'm really happy to see all of you guys here present, the various organizations, entities all coming together for this collaborative cause. I would like to say thank you to our local LULAC youth for participating. Guada Perez for a round of applause, guys, for Guada for coordinating this. Jesse Perez, our council vice president over there. Regina Mason, on behalf of the NAACP. And thank you guys for coming. This is an issue that, as mentioned, it's not just something that's happening down south with the internment, with the detention centers. It's something that affects us and impacts us both locally here in Seaside, in our city, in our county, the county of Monterrey, in our state here in California, and it's something that we as citizens need to come together and exercise our voice to let the government know that every single sign that I see here, that families belong together. Abolish ICE. Families deserve to be united. Stop the racism. Danger, racist ahead. All those is a clear message that we're sending, that we are here, we are united, and we will march together. We will continue this cause. This is the first of many events that we will be holding together. This isn't a one-time thing. This is just the first step on our march as we continue to walk shoulder to shoulder, side by side, to let our voices know that we will not stand idly and watch this unfold without us taking action. We're here. Aquí estamos, no nos vamos. We're here, we're not leaving. We're here together. Thank you guys.
And we have someone from the Quakers group, Friends, Monterey Peninsula Friends Quakers.
Most of you probably know that Quakers are a religious society based on a strong number of principles.
Point it toward your mouth. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Shall I start over again? Quakers are a religious society originally, but many people who belong to Quakerisms, and that's the Monterey Peninsula Society of Friends, that's the traditional name, are from any race, from any culture, from any religion. It doesn't matter, so long as the principles are understood. And one of those principles is equality. It means that everyone is equal to everybody else, regardless of any factors that you can say, well, you know, this isn't like I do it. This isn't like she does it. Quakers are the first egalitarian Democrats in a democracy that was just getting started in the 1650s. The democracy says that if it's not okay to enslave somebody unless I'm willing to be enslaved too, it's fair. It's what you can do. Could be done to me. What I can do to you, you can do back to me. Why are we beating up on each other? The abuse that is going on in this administration is enormous. The fact that it is not called a human rights abuse and brought under the United Nations Charter, to which we are signatory, is probably going to happen, but it hasn't happened quite yet. I think California is farther ahead than many places, but I want to assure you that people who call themselves Quakers, whether or not they subscribe to every bit of Quakerism, just like any other faith group, are out defending. They are out in the detention camps for children, trying to provide the children the touch that they are missing. Can you imagine a baby not being held, not being soothed and comforted? That is a deep deprivation, as Mel Mason has told you, and it lasts a lifetime. The Quakers are also working with the American Friends Service Committee, which has more legislative powers, and a lot of legislators who listen to them, because they say, they always end up being right. Why don't we listen to them at the beginning rather than waiting till the end when they chew our ears off? I want you to know that local Quakers, they're a small group, but there are many people like-minded. You're probably all among them. We're not going away. We don't usually speak. We're known for being quiet. Not true. Not true. And therefore, I just wanted to say, we are with you every step of the way and have been for 300 years.
The wonderful Quakers allowed Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad gave refuge to slaves on their way to freedom. Do we have any others that would like to speak out today in the audience? No? Yeah? Come on up.
My name is Jay Owen Smith. I'm also a member of the Monterey Peninsula Friends meeting. I want to echo what Mel Mason said. I'm a retired therapist, also a member of Breakthrough Men's Community. The damage that is done to the little persons, whatever age they are, and to the parents and significant others is enormous psychologically. Very much support the idea that it is our responsibility as a government, as we are the government, that care and healing therapy in any fashion be paid for the children and the parents by the government that has perpetrated this trauma. We are accountable. And here we are to say the words that need to be said and to offer the presence.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Elena Loomis, and I'm here informally representing the National Coalition Building Institute. We're an organization that is committed to ending all sorts of oppression. I can't think of an oppression worse than what is happening to these families being separated from one another. It breaks my heart. I have a 5-month-old grandson and a 1.5-year-old granddaughter, and the idea that they could be taken away from their mom or from me, I'm getting the chills because it just breaks my heart. So we're a coalition building institute, and we want to join with the Poor People's Campaign. I also am part of the Monterey County Democratic Central Committee, and we as Democrats abhor what's going on. We will fight to elect people that will end this oppression. So the talk about registering to vote is so important. And one thing to know, if you're a young person under the age of 18, you can do what's called pre-register. And then that means you're registered automatically on your 18th birthday. You have to be 16 or 17 to pre-register. But that's a good thing to do because then you've taken care of it. And your voice will be heard. And that's one of the best ways to make your voice heard is by voting. So thank you all for being here. Let's go forward and change this. And Stephen is my ally. He already spoke.
Great. Okay, is there anyone else that would like an opportunity to speak that hasn't already spoken? Okay, well, I would like to mention that the next meeting of the Poor People's Campaign is on the 25th, Saturday the 25th, at 10 a.m. from 10 to 12 to noon. And then later that afternoon, there is LULAC, the NAACP, and the Japanese Americans community will be speaking about issues at Jackal Hall over in Monterrey from 2 to 4. So the branch, the Monterey County Branch NAACP, has its general membership meeting on the 4th Thursday, which would be the 24th of August at Ocean View Baptist Church. You can go to our website and you can see when we have our next meeting. All of our delegates that went to the National Convention this past July are going to bring back their delegates report. So if you are interested in learning more about the NAACP, please come to our meeting. If you are not a member of the nation's oldest, boldest, baddest civil rights organization in the country, the NAACP, please join. We would love to have you. The NAACP is a organization that was founded by founding members were sons and daughters of former slave-holding families. And so it's not a black organization. It is a people organization, and people come in all colors. And so we would love to have all of you become members, as I'm sure LULAC would also like to make a pitch for you to join that wonderful civil rights organization. Just so you know, LULAC and the NAACP enjoy a wonderful national relationship. We have a national memorandum of understanding with LULAC and many other civil rights groups, and so we are going to continue to work in solidarity with LULAC and with other groups in this country to ensure that fair and equitable distribution of America's resources, our resources, go to the most vulnerable populations of people in our society. It's important that we understand that people's needs are not being met. Children especially, poor kids that are going hungry, kids that are in school showing up with no clean clothing, and those kinds of kids get reported to Child Protective Services. And so there's a lot going on aside from the children being taken by the Trump administration. They're also being taken by the government all over this country. And when you look into these systems that take these children, you see that black and brown children are the children that are being taken. And so they're making money off of kids. Every time an arrest happens of a person in our community, that starts the clock ticking for dollars that get realized. Everybody from the judge, the bailiff, the jail, everyone's getting paid except for the community that that person was taken out of. The community and we are the losers. We must do more to come together to ensure that we get our needs met and not let the government tell us what our needs are. If we have elected officials that are in our offices that aren't hearing us and we put them in office, we need to take them out. If they are taking money from our tax dollars and we don't even get to know what those monies are, it's a shame, because I think what happens is people all deserve to be served from a culturally congruent way. And you can't say, oh, well, we sent out a survey or go online. Some people don't even know how to go online. So the bottom line is that you have to meet people where they're at. And so if that means walking the streets and talking to people and knocking on doors and finding out what the needs of the people are, then that's what you have to do as an elected official. You can't sit behind your desk on council night or at the Board of Supervisor level and not be hearing what the needs of the people are. And so I have to tell you that there are so many children and families right here in this community that are homeless, living in poverty, that don't know where their next night's hotel stay will come from. And I happen to know that because, number one, I happen to be president of the NAACP, and we have a lot of complaints from so many different people from all walks of life. And so I know for a fact that many of the needs of the people are not being met. And they're not just people from the African American community, they're people from all walks of life. And what it is a shame, because there is enough money here in Monterey County to resolve all of the problems that exist for people that are living in poverty. And that means that whether it's the transportation tax dollars that we're paying, any of these tax dollars should be going into the neediest people. And unfortunately, they're not the ones at the school board meetings, or they're not the ones, I don't see many of those folks at the Board of Supervisors meetings. I don't see them at school board meetings. There's LCAP dollars that are just out there that if you show up and you put your voice there, they're going to listen to you. If you don't show up, which the majority of people that really need to show up, they're trying to make ends meet or working 2 and 3 jobs, so they can't show up. So we can't expect to have these meetings somewhere and, oh, well, they didn't show up. Well, let's go to them if they don't show up to us, because we have to do due diligence to make sure that all people's needs are met. So I'm going to end this evening, and I don't know if any one of the youngsters from LULAC would like to. Yes. Would you like to speak?
I'm speaking right now, and that is, I know what she means. Okay. I know. I would like to know from you. I don't know if I missed in part of this. If I missed, I know there's already been a couple of meetings, and I had no awareness of those meetings. I think there were several organizations that came and representatives spoke. I would like to know if you have given any type of rundown on what transpired at those meetings, what committees were set up.
Yeah, you can go to the NAACP website and you can see we have the Poor People's Campaign in Monterey County happening, and we had a meeting yesterday. We'll have another meeting on the 25th over at Victory Temple Church on the corner of Broadway and Yosemite Streets at 10 o'clock on a Saturday for 2 hours. That is where subcommittees are getting together in round tables to come up with what they're going to be working on. We have a number of different subcommittees. One is voter empowerment, one's homelessness, one is direct action, civil engagement. There's a myriad of different committees, and it's going to be posted on the website. But we welcome any and everybody to get involved in the Poor People's Campaign, because that is what is going to change the plight of the disenfranchised people in our county. And it's not just for Seaside, it's for Monterey County. We have a right to be self-determined and to have economic reciprocity. Without money, we can't do much. Without a roof over your head, then you don't know what your life will turn out to be. And it's unfair for children to have to go to bed in a shelter and not know if they may make it back the next night, because sometimes they have deadlines on what time you can go in. But the bottom line is that if you can look around all over our communities, whether it's Seaside, Monterey, Carmel, everywhere you see poor people living in the streets with carts, sleeping on bus stops. And over in Monterey, they literally will get arrested for sitting on the bus stop with the cart. So it's really a shame what's happening to poor people, and we have to be the conscience of the nation. We have to do what is right for all people. We have to put human needs before profit.
And I know that that has been talked about a lot historically, but the bottom line is that if we follow the dollars and we hold our elected officials accountable to us, we the people, because we can make a difference. But if we sit back and do nothing, then we will get nothing.
I would like to respond to what you just said. It's the second time you're saying it. Yeah, regarding the elected officials. I myself, I can agree with you more on that. What I find, not just here, everywhere, that we put people into office and then somehow we treat them like gods when we get there. We don't ask the right questions. If we get an opportunity to go up and ask a question, instead, you know, oh, can I get a selfie with you? And then we're helping them to promote nothingness because they're not making the hard decisions.
Right.
Not for us. They're making corporate decisions. And then we don't seem to get involved in order to get rid of them. But we are ourselves, and I know I'm a Democrat. Democrats are very guilty of continually putting the same people in office. And I will say this, I am sick and tired of seeing Carmel congressmen. I will repeat that. I am sick and tired of seeing Dynasty Carmel congressmen who I don't feel really represent the majority of the community. And we bless them and we put them in and they raise military money and they represent everything that is not us. And we don't hold them accountable. And I'm tired of that. I left that behind a long time ago. If I get the opportunity to speak to an elected official, as I did a couple of weeks ago up in Oakland, I'm not the person that's going to go up and salivate all over them. I am the person that is going to go up and say, I don't agree with you on this, and I do agree with you on this, and why should I give you my support? And know that once you get in there, you're not going to just spend now the next 30 years kowtowing to corporate interest, and then we can't get rid of you. So it takes guts, and I'm tired of being the only person or one of the only person with those guts. I sure would like some company.
Well, great. Well, come on and join the Poor People's Campaign. There's a number of organizations that you can get involved in, and you know there's strength in numbers. And I agree wholeheartedly with you. The time has come to start taking people out of office. If they're not going to represent the needs of the people, then let's take them out. But we're not going to do that alone. We have to work collectively together as a group. So thank you very much for your input.
Okay, thank you guys. At this moment, we're going to, for those of you guys who are still here, we're going to stand on the edge of the grass, hold our signs, make sure that you guys stay safe and don't walk onto the street, and just, you know, exercise your voice, hold your sign proud, and we'll stand shoulder to shoulder together.
Honk, honk! Honk, honk, honk! Honk, honk! Honk, honk, honk! Honk, honk!
So first off, we'll start out with your name, how you spell it.
Okay, Regina Mason, REGINA MASON.
And you are
I am the president of the Monterey County Branch, NAACP.
Now, the Trump administration has missed the chance to reunite these families. You are here out to make sure that that happens. Now, what can you tell me about bringing these people together and how
You're looking up, brother.
tasking it is? Not just bringing people together, but like
What's Jesse? Yeah, okay. Jesse.
Well, the NAACP on a national level passed a resolution at its 109th convention last week to have the Trump administration return the children to their families that have been separated immediately. There was also a court order for that to happen, and we know that children, not all children, have been returned to their families. These children have been traumatized, and any child that is separated from a family, it is a crime to have children separated from their families based on these circumstances. And so the NAACP stands
in solidarity with LULAC and other human rights and civil rights organizations to ensure that the Trump administration gets a message that these children must be returned. The problem is that we are hearing now that they don't know where some of the families are, and that the children, not all the children are going to be returned to their families. And so you've seen the little kids on TV crying and screaming and not being able to be nurtured and held, and you've seen, I'm sure, the psychologists that have come on and talked about how this has traumatized these children. These kids are going to have PTSD and other forms of trauma for the rest of their lives. And so the NAACP is the oldest civil rights organization in the country. We've already won a victory of several lawsuits against the Trump administration with DACA and others. And it's not just the children of the Latin backgrounds. It is children from Haiti and children that are Somalian and kids from all other African countries that are being railroaded through this Trump administration. And what is happening is criminal and inhumane when you take children and use them as political pawns. It is an atrocity on society.
Now, the news has covered that most of these children are of Latin American descent, heritage. Do you think that people are more less aware of the Haitian and Somali children that are?
We know that that it's certainly not being covered by the mass media, and that what they're showing is the immigrants that are coming from the Latin countries, but they're not showing the immigrants that are coming from the African countries and from Haiti. And so that is a population that is also being impacted, and greatly so. Children should never be used politically in this manner. This is really not okay for innocent children to be taken from their parents, because their parents are escaping not only poverty but violence in their own countries. And when the Trump administration talks about people coming from Norway and Sweden, and he'd like to see more of those people over here, it's plain institutionalized white supremacy racism, and it's really unfortunate because there are more people that have things in common, and he is espousing hate in this country like I've never seen in my lifetime.
And could you tell me a little bit about the partnership with LULAC?
Yes. The partnership with LULAC has been a long-standing partnership. The Monterey County Branch in NAACP is 87 years old, and those whose shoulders I stand on worked with LULAC way before I came along, and I'm carrying out a tradition of making sure that we stand in solidarity with our Latin brothers and sisters, because their struggles are our struggles and our struggles are their struggles. And so basically we have right now the Poor People's Campaign for Monterey County for self-determination and economic justice. And so we've got groups, not only LULAC, but groups from all backgrounds, the Quakers, Whites for Racial Equity, just so many different groups that are coming together with the Poor People's Campaign of Monterey County. What we want to see is fair and just resources coming into the most vulnerable population of communities, and that is generally the communities of color. We have no say in terms of what our resource dollars are being allocated to, and it's time for us to hold our local elected officials and politicians accountable. And we must have judges, we must have district attorneys and public defenders that represent all of our needs. We need to keep people in our community so that they can be a vital fabric of moving the community forward and do more prevention instead of locking them up and throwing away the key. And that is exactly what we see with mass incarceration. So this goes beyond just the immigrant issue. It's also about the unjust issues that are happening to people of color in all of these negative systems that exist, that it should be designed to help people. Because a lot of people suffer from mental health issues, and
they do commit crimes that are on the book, but all these crimes, the laws that are on these books are all exacted against poor people and people of color, particularly African American males in our society.
You talked about institutionalism, and you're talking about mass incarceration. This is a problem that once it starts, it just keeps happening. We've seen in these patterns. Do you want to speak to anything about institutionalism?
Yeah, well, we know that there is a thing called institutionalized racism. And we do know that when you look at who is on our courts and who's running all of these government entities, it's not people of color. And people that don't understand the cultural dynamics of the people that they're prosecuting, that's a whole nother problem. But I believe in prevention. As a society, we should be doing more prevention. When people are drug addicted, they generally have some unresolved issues from their childhood that have not gone treated. And so we know for a fact that culturally congruent services are the most important service you can provide in way of prevention. And so our communities want to be a part of the solution. We want to help our government make sure that the right decisions get made in terms of people that have lost their way, whether they're drug addicted, committing a crime, or whatever the case may be. We in our community can help best. Because when you look at the data, you'll see historically the government has never been able to help. And that is why we have mass incarceration right now.
So let's start with your name and how you spell it.
Francisco Lopez, F-R-A-N-C-I-S-C-O.
Now, can you tell us about what happened here today? What was the rally?
Today we had a demonstration rally in support of the children in detention centers and the issue of immigration and the separation of families. And the purpose of this was to bring the children, reunite them with their families. So this was a coalition effort. Various community organizations came together to voice their perspective on the issue of child separation.
And what is LULAC's position in the issue?
LULAC's position is that we are, as an organization, both locally and nationally, our stance is that we believe that children in detention centers should be reunited with their families and not kept separate while going through the immigration process.
Children right now are, as Regina said, when you take it away from their parents, they're being traumatized. They are, they have no one else to turn to but them, and the government's not really helping them. So what can you say to that?
We believe that that is a very traumatic experience and no child should ever have to experience. The odyssey that they have to go through to begin with when they are immigrating from leaving their home country is devastating enough to have to go through such a travesty. And once apprehended, we believe that it's a very traumatic feeling that they have to go through, knowing that the immigration policy that they have set in place cannot keep them together, at least through the proceedings. Separating the families and processing them as individuals is something that is very catastrophic for their development mentally, and it just scars them very much so to the point as to it is evident when in the court proceedings that the children are just they're indifferent at the procedure. They don't know how to act. They're young. They're surrounded by adults, and it's something that no child should ever have to go through.
Do you have anything else to say?
This is the coalition that we're having with NAACP. Our local council, as long as the surrounding LULAC councils, are working in collaboration with each other as well as our national office to hold further events and rallies and demonstrations. And this is just the first of many efforts that we're going to make collaboratively to voice to make sure our voices heard, and to make sure that we keep demonstrating, pushing, and making sure that children are being returned to their families. No child should be separated, and we believe that we're going to make our voices heard as a collaborative coalition to make sure that the children are reunited back. Our goal is to not stop until there's immigration reform with the separation of children and their families.
Thank you so much. That's all I have.